Is the matchup between Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush the biggest matchup and the most important matchup of Charles Oliveira's career? Charles Oliveira, obviously, we have known, started at featherweight. He did start quite a bit ago in 2010, was only 20 years old when he made his debut against Darren Elkins, won by an armbar in round one. Very impressive win there, but then started having an iffy career at the featherweight division. I believe in 2016, he had his last fight in the featherweight division against Ricardo Lamas, and that was a catchweight bout. So just rolling through the whole entirety of Charles Oliveira's career, he had an iffy time in the featherweight division. Started out against some pretty heavy hitters at 20 years of age, which is insane. Fought Jim Miller in 2010. Fought Cub Swanson. Fought Frankie Edgar. Just looking at a couple of his losses. Fought Donald Cerrone. Lost to him early on in his career. Lost to Max Holloway. Lost to Anthony Pettis later on in his career in like 2016. So he's fought some of the best guys at the featherweight division. Really tough competition, especially growing into a fighter at a very young age. And then he started having issues with his weight, and it seemed like he started to get a little dejected, and it seemed like part of that, the weight misses and things like that. Obviously he's a really big dude for the featherweight division, but he was just getting dejected mentally and wasn't really focused on some of these fights, and he kind of had to put himself in that kind of mind frame to actually go on the win streak that he did have. So he did get his lightweight debut against Will Brooks, did beat him by submission in round one there, and then lost to Paul Felder in the next fight in the second round by ground and pound. And it seemed like what Charles Oliveira said, I think he started dyeing his hair blonde as well. Kind of just clicked on mentally and went on an 11 fight win streak. If you include his title fight, went on an 8 fight win streak before fighting Michael Chandler and beating him by KO in the second round. So he kind of had to turn on that thing mentally. It seemed like just in general for Charles Oliveira, he operated off of a lot of confidence. You saw him kind of wavering a little bit in the featherweight division, but once he got on that win streak, he just kept going. Starting off on that win streak, beat Clay Guida. Pretty much all these fights were finishes except for the Tony Ferguson fight, but started off finishing Clay Guida, beat Christos Giagos, beat Jim Miller, beat David Tumor, beat Nick Lentz, beat Jared Gordon, beat Kevin Lee, and then beat Tony Ferguson, all in that 8-fight win streak to fight Michael Chandler, who he did beat in the second round by KO, beat Dustin Poirier in the third round by rear naked choke, and then beat Justin Gaethje in the first round by rear naked choke. All just scrapping on the feet in general. And it just seemed like he had that built-up confidence. You saw, especially after the Michael Chandler fight, he had that confidence going in there. But even after that Michael Chandler fight, you saw a whole new wave of confidence against a guy like Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, and even Islam Makhachev. Even though that was probably one of his worst performances we've seen in a very long time. That was the first time he's taken a loss since 2017, if you can believe that, to Paul Felder. He lost to ground and pound in the second round. But Islam Makhachev, it seems generally, because we have seen him dejected, we have seen him miss weight a couple times and had to go into a catchweight kind of area, was starting to miss weight obviously again because he's a bigger dude. He has to cut to make lightweight pretty badly. Like, he's a pretty heavy dude. So obviously that would be a reason why he would miss in featherweight. But a lot of it was more of a mental thing. He kind of just had to gear himself into that mental area to win some of these matchups, get that confidence that he eventually got in the lightweight division. So losing to Islam Makhachev, how does Charles Oliveira react after losing to Islam Makhachev? Because he hasn't lost a fight since 2017 to Paul Felder. It's been a very long time. So how does Charles Oliveira rebound in that matchup against a guy like Beneil Dariush, who a lot of people are saying is going to be really tough competition for Islam Makhachev, or saying that is the toughest competition for Islam Makhachev? How does Charles Oliveira rebound from that Islam Makhachev fight that he had where he struggled in it? That's a big question going into this one. So this is why I believe it is going to be the biggest matchup, and even the most important matchup of Charles Oliveira's career. I think this is a very important matchup for him. If he loses this fight, although it is to Islam Makhachev and Beneil Dariush, going on a 2-fight losing streak with a guy like Charles Oliveira, who again, I believe, operates on a lot of confidence. He hasn't even watched the Islam Makhachev fight. Like, he kind of just tuned it out. I don't think he needs to watch it in general, because I don't know how much he would take away from it, because it's not like he had that performance anytime recently. Maybe he can look back at older performances and see how he did there. But against the Islam Makhachev fight, it was just a very bad performance. It didn't seem like the game plan was kind of operating well, and he didn't really trust it in general. So I don't really put that too much against him for that. But Beneil Dariush is very tough competition. If he beats Beneil Dariush, you're kind of in a different spot. You're kind of like, okay, beat the toughest guy in this division pretty much, at least for the champion in Islam Makhachev, because we're going to rule out Arman Tsarukyan for right now. We're going to rule out, who else would you put? Arman Tsarukyan. Gamrot might be tough in general for an Islam. I don't think Gamrot would be tough, because I think Islam would be better on the feet. Again, you have Arman's the younger guy surging, who probably might eventually in his prime have the means to beat an Islam Makhachev, but Beneil Dariush is the guy right now. And if he beats Beneil Dariush, he probably gets that confidence back, and he can maybe get another win and build that confidence up again against another top 5 guy, or one guy outside the top 5. But if he loses, what does that mean for Charles Oliveira? He's already, 33 years of age right now. I don't necessarily know how close he is to getting to 34 years of age. Let me check real quick. So he actually, he turns 34 in like 6 months. So he's still a relatively younger guy. He's still in his prime, technically. He's going to get closer to out of that prime area, but 2 losses for Charles Oliveira would probably hurt his confidence, and the matchups don't get easier outside of who he's already beaten. You have guys like an Arman Tsarukyan, who's going to be very dangerous for Charles Oliveira. Even though Charles Oliveira might match up well, we don't know what his mental side is going to be for this. And honestly, he might be having trouble cutting to 155 in general. So we saw in the Justin Gaethje fight, even though I don't think it's not necessarily his fault for missing weight. I think the scales were kind of messed up on it, because you could even see that he come back. It was just a very weird situation. I don't know if he missed weight, but he's still a very big dude for that division. So we don't know how many fights are left in Charles Oliveira. And if he loses to a second fight in Beneil Dariush, where does that put Charles Oliveira mentally? And where does that put him in the rest of the division? Because that division is getting tougher. There's getting a lot of younger guys coming up in that division. That's going to make it tough for a lot of people in that division. So again, this is why I think this is going to be the most important matchup for Charles Oliveira's career. What do you guys think down below in the comments below? Let me know who you guys think will win in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys next time.